Let's do it.
Right, we have folks joining. I'm going to give it another 20 seconds or so, and then we'll get started. Okay, welcome everyone. Before we get started tonight, I do want to share that we have interpretation in Spanish, Portuguese, and English. Everyone will need to join a language channel once interpretation is enabled. That includes English speakers. We'll go over the interpretation instructions now. I'd like to invite Sylvia, our Spanish interpreter, to repeat in Spanish.
Thank you, Victoria. Gracias, Victoria. Bienvenidos. El día de hoy vamos a tener interpretación al español, al inglés y al portugués. Y vamos a pedirle a todas las personas que estén participando, incluido a los presentadores, que utilicen uno de los canales.
And I'll invite Myra, our Portuguese interpreter, to repeat in Portuguese.
Thank you. Obrigada, Vitória. Bem-vindos todos. Hoje nós vamos ter interpretação em espanhol, português e inglês. Quem for ouvir a interpretação, a gente pede que entre no canal do idioma em que vai ouvir. Então, quem for ouvir em português, pedimos que entre no canal de português para ouvir a interpretação. E a seguir nós vamos passar as instruções para acessar a interpretação.
If you are dialed into tonight's meeting, meaning you use the phone number to join the Zoom, and you'd like to listen in English, no further action is needed. If you are needing interpretation in Spanish or Portuguese and have used the phone number, we highly suggest you rejoin the meeting via either a smartphone or a laptop, because Zoom currently does not allow you to use the interpretation function while dialed in.
And also I want to say that if you're an English speaker and you want to listen to other Spanish speaking or Portuguese speaking, you won't be able to hear them well when they speak if you don't join a channel. Buenas tardes, simplemente queríamos decirles que si ustedes se unieron a esta reunión utilizando uno de los teléfonos, no van a poder acceder a los canales de interpretación. La única forma que pueden acceder a los canales de interpretación es si se meten a la reunión de Zoom por medio de hacerle clic al enlace. Si hacen clic en el enlace, entonces sí van a poder utilizar los canales. Si no, van a tener que escuchar todo en inglés. Si se unieron por medio de llamar telefónicamente al Zoom, entonces, y quieren utilizar la interpretación, por favor, sálganse de la reunión, utilicen el enlace y entonces vuelvan a entrar.
Boa noite para quem fala português. Quem entrou nessa chamada discando o número de telefone para entrar na reunião do Zoom e quiser acompanhar a reunião em português, nós pedimos que saia da reunião pelo telefone e entre na reunião de novo usando o computador pelo link do Zoom, para entrar pelo aplicativo do Zoom ou para entrar pelo no celular ou para entrar pelo programa do Zoom no computador, porque só o aplicativo e o programa do Zoom é que tem a função de interpretação, seja em espanhol, em português ou mesmo em inglês, para quem quiser escutar a interpretação para inglês dos colegas que falam português e espanhol.
Now for instructions on how to enable interpretation. So if you're using a computer, click on the globe symbol in the bottom right corner of your screen. Select the option for the language you speak.
Si
Slide,
están
please.
enfrente,
Oh, sorry.
si están
Next
enfrente
slide,
de,
please.
oh, my apologies.
No problem. Next slide, please. When you're using a smartphone, you're going to click the three dots in the bottom right corner of your screen. You're going to select the symbol with the globe, and then select your language, and then press done in the top right of your corner. And you can go ahead to the next slide. And Sylvia, you're welcome to repeat in Spanish.
La función de interpretación todavía no está activada, pero en el momento que se active, van a poder ver, si están enfrente de una computadora, un globo terráqueo en la parte inferior de su pantalla. Lo único que tienen que hacer es hacer clic ahí y seleccionar el canal de español. Eso es todo. Ahora bien, si están utilizando un teléfono celular o una tableta para unirse a esta reunión, entonces van a tener que seleccionar los tres puntitos donde dice más. Les va a salir un menú con diferentes opciones. Seleccionan la opción de interpretación de idiomas y hay un globo terráqueo ahí también. Luego seleccionan el canal de español y finalmente tienen que seleccionar finalizado para que puedan acceder al canal.
Myra, you're welcome to repeat in Portuguese.
Ok, thank you. Quem for acompanhar a reunião em português e estiver no computador, no momento a interpretação ainda não está ativada, mas quando ela for ligada, quem for seguir a reunião no computador pode clicar, por gentileza, no ícone de globo no canto inferior direito da tela e selecionar a opção correspondente ao seu idioma, por exemplo, português. Next, please. Ou para quem estiver participando pelo aplicativo do Zoom no celular ou smartphone, pode clicar, por gentileza, nos três pontinhos que aparecem no canto inferior direito da tela, selecionar a opção que contém o ícone de globo e selecionar de novo o idioma português, no caso, e apertar concluído ou done no canto superior direito.
Thank you, Sylvia. Thank you, Myra. That said, we are going to now enable interpretation so it can begin. Again, even if you're an English speaker, please select the English channel so you can hear the presentations. With that, I will invite Christine to begin the meeting.
Ahora se va a empezar la interpretación, así es que por favor, una vez que se active, seleccionen el canal.
A interpretação vai começar agora, então assim que for ativada, por favor, selecione o canal do idioma em que você deseja ouvir.
Hello, hi, can everybody hear me okay? Yes?
Yes.
Okay, great, thank you. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to our all-ward virtual City Hall community meeting. My name is Christine McNulty. I'm the Community Engagement Specialist for the Communications Department here at the City of Somerville. Thank you to all of you who have joined us in person so far at their ward meetings for the last few weeks. While tonight's updates will have a bit more of a citywide scope, I want to remind Ward 2 residents that we are concluding the fall meeting series with an in-person meeting this Thursday, October 16th at the Argenziano School starting at 6:30 p.m. Tonight, you will hear updates from Mayor Ballantyne, through on one and constituent services, Public Space and Urban Forestry, the Somerville Police Department, and our Mobility Division. We also have non-presenting staff here to represent departments and divisions who are here to assist with any questions that you may have. Some of the departments present tonight include capital projects, engineering, the Council on Aging, the Housing Division, Health and Human Services, Office of Housing Stability, Economic Development, Elections, Planning and Zoning, Sustainability and Environment, the Fire Department, Racial and Social Justice, Auditing, and Procurement. So after the mayor's presentation, she will take 2 questions, but after that, all of the we are going to hold all questions until the presentations have been completed, and we will open up into a general Q&A at the end of the meeting. To participate, I would ask that you please use the raise hand function. I'll go over how to do that in a moment, but tonight's meeting will close at 8:30 p.m. If we don't get to your question, please email cm@somervillema.gov and we can direct your comment to the appropriate department. So all of the City Hall community meetings are being recorded and they will be available online after October 16th on the City TV government YouTube channel. Right. Next slide, please. So again, when we get to the Q&A section, I would ask that you please raise your hand to participate, to use the raise hand function. On a computer or Mac device, you can look at the bottom of the Zoom screen. There's an icon right here on the slide that says raise hand. Alternatively, on Windows, you can use the alternate key plus Y to raise your hand, or on Mac, you can do Option and Y shortcut function to raise your hand. Next slide, please. If you are on a mobile device, an Android or an iPhone, you can raise your hand by clicking the 3 buttons in the bottom right-hand corner, and the raise hand function should pop up right there on your screen. There are examples of this on the screen now. And next slide, please. And if you are dialed in if you have called in via phone, you can press *9 to raise your hand, and to lower your hand, you can just press *9 again. So with that, I have a few quick city updates before we dive into the main presentations. A reminder that Somerville's municipal election takes place on Tuesday, November 4th. On this slide are various deadlines for registering to vote, submitting vote by mail applications, as well as blue box locations for dropping off any vote by mail ballots. For all election information, please visit somervillema.gov/elections. And the elections department is also looking for poll workers. Poll workers make $240 for the day, working the day of the election. If you are interested, please email hradmin@somervillema.gov to apply. On September 19th, Massachusetts Governor Maura Healey signed the proposed new City of Somerville Charter. For the November election, 2 ballot questions will allow voters whether to decide to accept the charter and whether to extend the mayoral term. For any other questions and to learn more about the charter process, visit somervillema.gov/charter review. In collaboration with the mobility, parking, and fire departments, the engineering division has been improving signals throughout the city. In particular, we are executing a key goal of the administration's fiscal year 26 budget to upgrade our traffic signals with a location-based emergency vehicle preemption system. Accessibility is equally important. We are in the process of installing 200 accessible crossing signs with the street name in raised text and braille. We are also actively upgrading our pedestrian signals with accessible push buttons and countdown timers. Since December 2024, the Somerville Office of Immigrant Affairs has held over 150 Know Your Rights training for community members. If you're looking for this information or just have more questions about the Somerville Office of Immigrant Affairs, you can visit somervillema.gov/SOIA, SOIA, or you can scan the QR code here. And on that note, the Somerville Office of Immigrant Affairs and Mayor Katiana Ballantyne would like to invite the community to celebrate Hispanic Heritage Month. on Saturday, October 18th from 2 to 5 p.m. at the Healy School. Come enjoy food, live music, and getting to know your neighbors. If you are currently a caregiver, the Somerville Council on Aging has resources for you and your family. The COA offers a caregiver support group, educational resources from partner organizations, and other forms of group support. You can learn more and register by contacting Molly Pagliuca by email at mpagliuca@somervillema.gov or by calling the phone number and extension listed here on the screen. The Somerville Climate Ambassador Program is designed to empower Somerville residents to take action on climate change in their community. If you're looking for an opportunity to learn something new, get more involved in your community, or meet new people, consider applying to become a climate ambassador. You can scan the QR code here or visit somervillema.gov/CFA to apply. Applications are open until December 1st. Mayor Katiana Ballantyne and Fire Chief Charles Breen would like to invite the community to the grand opening ceremony for the new Assembly Square Fire Station on Saturday, October 18th at 10 a.m. This is the first new fire station Somerville has had in 50 years, and so people are very, very excited. There's going to be a fire hose uncoupling, station walkthroughs, touch a truck, and some light refreshments available. And on a similar note, we all know that there is a lot to do in Somerville, and tonight we wanted to highlight some upcoming events. Summer Street's Monster Mash is planned for Sunday, October 19th on Somerville Ave, and the annual Truck or Treat will be held on Thursday, October 23rd from 5 to 7 p.m. at the City Hall Concourse. And finally, you can stay up to date with all things City of Somerville by subscribing to our weekly newsletter. You can do this by scanning the QR code on this slide or by visiting somervillema.gov/subscribe. On this webpage, you'll find a list of other departments that all have their own newsletters. We welcome and encourage you to sign up for any and all that might interest you. And so that concludes our quick updates portion, and I would like to now turn it over to Mayor Ballantyne.
Good evening, everyone. It's no surprise to any of us in Massachusetts that we're in the midst of a housing crisis. So this evening, I'm going to talk about what's happening and what we're doing about it. So I'll start off with, what does it mean when we say there's a housing crisis? Well, according to the numbers, the median home prices are rising far faster than any of the incomes. In fact, from 2000 to 2023, that's 23 years, the median home prices in Massachusetts rose by 73%. But in those same 23 years, the median household income only rose 4% when adjusted for inflation. And nearly 40% of those households spend more than a third of their home pay, their take-home pay, on their rent or mortgage. And for just under 20% of our neighbors, that number is more than half. That means that over 7,000 Somerville families are one emergency away from displacement. A key reason this is happening is we're creating jobs that draw workers here, but we're not creating enough housing to meet the demand. So what does it mean when we say there's a housing crisis? Well, excuse me. So here's the graph. Those home prices and the income stats that I just mentioned. Look how the blue line that shows housing prices pull away over time compared to the orange line that shows households' incomes. And that's the troubling disconnect. The numbers paint a stressful story. But what does it feel like to live through a housing crisis? Well, I'll tell you what I hear from residents in the city. It feels like learning your building is being sold and that your rent is going to double. It feels like couples who want to expand their families but can't afford a larger living space. It feels like staying in an unsafe housing situation because there's no affordable alternative. It feels like leaving food in your grocery basket at the checkout because your rent's so high. It feels like neighbors, classmates, or families are moving out of Somerville. The bottom line, we need more housing that we can all afford. Then I know the question that's on everybody's mind is, so what's Somerville doing about it? The simple answer is everything we can. We're using the tools we have, or we're creating new tools. And here are just a few of the many examples. We're purchasing homes with nonprofits before they hit the market to keep those units affordable. We launched the consolidated rental wait list, so you only need to submit one application for many of our inclusionary rentals, and successfully fought to lower rental search fees at the State House, and we're continuing to do impactful advocacy work. I also want to highlight something important. A big portion of the housing work is supported by the Community Preservation Act. Last Somerville voters overwhelmingly chose to double the CPA surcharge to the legal maximum of 3%, bringing the total amount of CPA funding from $3 million to $6 million per year. And of that number, 55% goes to affordable housing initiatives. And you might ask, so where does the other 45% go? It goes to housing, historical housing preservation work, and to open space. The choice you made at the ballot box is bringing in dollars that make real change possible. Thank you to everyone who voted to make that happen. So our approach to housing is built on 3 key pillars. Make sure housing is built, both market rate and affordable. Keep people in their homes so we can, prevent displacement, and create homes that will be a good fit for those who need them most. So I'm going to walk you through what each of those look like. The need for housing is a statewide issue. Massachusetts needs 222,000 new homes by 2035 to meet the demand, according to the state data. So that's just in 10 years, or 9.5. So we're doing our part here in Somerville. Somerville has close to 800 new housing units in the direct pipeline now. To put that into perspective, we currently have about 34,000 housing units. With the CPA funding, we're adding 25 affordable apartments for elderly and disabled residents are at the Mystic Waterworks. That's over on Alewife Brook Parkway, across from Dilboy Stadium. We have 54 permanently affordable homes through the 100 Homes program, and 319 units, including 136 affordable at 299 Broadway, known as the former Star Market site on Winter Hill. We're also building forward with neighborhood plans. In August, we adopted the Assembly Neighborhood Plan, which aims to create between 3,000 to 5,700 new housing units. Of those, roughly 600 to 1,100 will be affordable apartments. In our Brick Bottom plan, and Brick Bottom is near Target on the other side of McGrath Highway and near the East Somerville T-stop, the new Green Line T-stop. We've completed the plan, and our zoning is moving forward and making progress. The plan sets forth to building 400 to 625 new housing units, including affordable housing units. Let's also not forget the 100 Homes program. Since 2015, we partnered with Somerville Community Corporation, our affordable housing developer, to buy homes and then keep them permanently affordable. So far, we've kept 106 homes affordable this way. We're also deploying a wide range of housing supports to stabilize residents in need now. In 2022, for example, we used federal rescue dollars known as ARPA funds to launch a rental assistance program for residents. We help them with overdue rent, provide financial support during housing searches, and covered expenses that can make or break your access to housing, like a security deposit. By the end of 2024, it was Somerville's largest and most successful rental assistance program and the most flexible and robust program of its kind in Massachusetts. To keep this going, our Office of Housing Stability has partnered with the Somerville Homeless Coalition and CAS to create a new version of the program to continue this work. As of June 2025, we have put more than $5.6 million into direct rental assistance, serving 892 people across 677 households. As we build and preserve housing units, we need to ensure access for people who need them most. Our inclusionary housing program is one of the strongest tools we have for that. Any new building with 4 or more units must set aside 20% as affordable. And since 2021, Somerville has added nearly 3,000 new homes, and about 500 of them became affordable because of this policy. We also need to ensure units that fit people's need. So in addition to doing things that are making sure we build family-size units, we also made housing for older adults a top priority. The average Social Security monthly payment is $2,000. Meanwhile, the median rent for an apartment in Somerville is $3,420 a month. That doesn't add up. Given the gap between the escalating rents and the fixed income of many older adults, it was clear that additional resources and creative thinking were needed to prevent their displacement. With Senator Pat Jalen's support in securing state funding, we launched the Older Adult Bridge Program, a pilot program. Last year, it kept 8 seniors in their homes who otherwise would have been displaced. And because of the success, the state is now set to more than double the funding to $220,000 this year, pending their revenue review. Our municipal voucher program is another Somerville success story. In partnership with CAS and the Cambridge Housing Authority, this program provides rental assistance to families with extremely low incomes who aren't eligible for federal or state support, with a focus on families with children in the Somerville Public Schools. We've already enrolled 30 families, and they pay no more than 30% of their income towards rent, with help also provided for security deposits and other stabilization services. It's taken intensive work from both city and schools to make this program a success. And the photo is a couple of our friendly Office of Housing Stability staff who are doing this work. While we're building housing, I've also directed staff to actively advocate for greater tenant protections in order to keep tenants in their homes, and our advocacy has paid off. We helped pass the Affordable Homes Act this summer, which seals certain eviction cases And we're already holding workshops so tenants know their new rights. We fought for access to council legislation, securing $2.5 million in state funding to expand tenant legal representation at the local level statewide. And here in Somerville, we've taken the lead by contracting with 2 local agencies to provide that support work directly. We built a statewide coalition to push for a real estate transfer fee on luxury sales. I testified in support of this fee at the State House this month. It could bring in $6 to $10 million a year for affordable housing. And just to know is, I think it's maybe been 5 or 6 years, 6 years probably, that we've been advocating for this at the state level, and I've gone to the state every time. And we've advanced a rent stabilization home rule petition at the state legislature and recommended by my anti-displacement task force. The petition would cap rent hikes at 5% and add some eviction protections. So what does that look like in terms of investments? We've invested in a historic level to advance housing affordability and stability goals, a total of roughly $62 million in 3 years. In the current economic climate, it could be tough to keep up that pace, meaning creative approaches will continue to be important. We're able to do this work really because of you. We are fortunate that we have a community that wants to take on the housing crisis. I do want to note that the way I see it is I use this metaphor about a coin and wanting to give residents here in Somerville the whole coin. And so there's 2 sides to a coin when it comes to affordability. On one side, we need to keep the expenses down, like rents and mortgages. And on the other side, we need to make sure that people have jobs so they can earn more money. And on the job side, we're expanding training for employment in the growing sectors like clean energy, building maintenance, and skilled trades through SCALE, our public school and local partners. We're also helping local employers stay local. Last year, we launched the Small Business Vitality Grant that can cover up to 12 months of storefront rents. We also released a commercial leasing handbook to help local entrepreneurs find and secure spaces that work for them. When I say we're using every tool in the box, I mean it. Somerville can't solve the housing crisis alone, but we can certainly do our part. And we are doing absolutely everything we can to build more housing, combat displacement, as are our state partners. From strengthening tenant protections to expanding affordable housing to rethinking regional housing policies, we must keep going, and we will. Together, we can ensure that Somerville remains a place we can all call home. To connect yourself or others, with staff for information or assistance, there are links on this slide for our inclusionary zoning or inclusionary housing program. And you can also use the QR code, and you can sign up for alerts when units become available, and also for housing assistance. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Mayor. Now that we've reached the conclusion of the mayor's presentation, we can take 2 questions right now. If anyone has any questions for the mayor based off of the presentation, now is the time. I see that, I think someone, is it Barika Edwards? Nope. Hand down. Okay. No? Okay. I don't think there's any questions for you, Mayor.
Okay, thank you.
Awesome. Thanks. Next up, I would like to welcome Ed Hardy from 311 Constituent Services. I was going to say to the podium, but I guess to the front of the Zoom screen.
Thank you, Christine. Thank you, Mayor Ballantyne. Good evening, everyone, to my fellow colleagues and to all the citizens of Somerville out there. My name is Ed Hardy. I'm the Customer Experience Manager here for the City of Somerville. That's an industry term. I like to think of myself as the Constituent Experience Manager. And I represent, I'm proud to be here tonight to represent Constituent Services and 311. 311, I'm going to talk a little bit about how we're structured and what our workflow is. Next slide. I'm very proud to be representing this group. I've been to these community meetings for several years now, and this is the first time I've been asked to speak. So I'm very excited to be here and represent this group that you see in front of you now, this very dedicated, knowledgeable, and dare I say, attractive group. The reason I say attractive is if you look closely, I am not in that picture. But anyway, I'm also delighted to see how many people are here joining in the Zoom call at the community online meeting tonight. There are about 100, 106 right now. If every single one of you had 2 friends with you, that would be about the number of times 311 answers a telephone call every day. We get about 300 phone calls or constituent interactions a day through our call center. We are staffed, managed, and measured as a call center. We are staffed right here in City Hall, and a 311 agent is always available at the welcome desk as well when you enter City Hall. So 311 is always here. We are your gateway to city services, the vital services that you guys depend on day in and day out. I'm going to talk a little bit about our structure and workflow, as I mentioned. Our mission is to provide the best customer experience and the best municipal customer service in the Commonwealth. I kind of narrowed that down just a little bit. Just a personal note here, I am super proud to be part of this team. I've lived in several Massachusetts communities that don't have the benefit of a 311 center, and I am every day I come to work, I'm thoroughly in awe of the work that we do. No longer do you need a whole Rolodex full of phone numbers to determine who you're going to call. If you need any service rendered, if you just want to make an opinion known, there's one number to know, and that's 311, and we will route your call accordingly. We are here to connect you with the right city department and help you report any problems, request services, and answer any questions about city programs. And 311 supports over 300 independent services and over 20 city departments. Again, our workflow, basically there are 3 types of calls that we field here at 311. And you may ask, where does my call go after we get it? Well, there are really 3 buckets where they go into. The first bucket would be that you answer a friendly 311 agent answers your call. They're very well trained. They go through continuous training and quality monitoring programs. And our goal is that on the one call, the 311 agent will be able to provide or exchange the information you've requested and close the call right there. We call that first call resolution. And we do that. We're very proud of how often we are able to do that. But as you know, we are a call center. We don't go out and fill potholes or empty the trash. So oftentimes we do need to do a handoff to another department. So the second bucket is that the call would be logged into our customer relationship management system or CRM system. And the call would be electronically routed to the appropriate department who's going to actually render the service that you've requested. When you do log a service request with 311, you'll be given a service request number or SR number, and that is your ticket number. If you ever need to follow up or whatever, you can reference that number, and you'll receive all updates. Anything that happens with your call, they'll be updated, and you can receive a text that will show the confirmation. When the call is closed, you'll also receive a text that the call is closed. The last bucket that a call can go into is just feedback. We have a saying here in 311 or in the city that if you have a burning building, call 911 for sure. But if you have a burning question, call 311. And that third bucket is if you're not really requesting a specific service, you just want to get something off your mind and have it routed to the appropriate department. We take those types of calls as well. A friendly 311 agent will listen to you compassionately, make note of your call, and if appropriate, route it to the appropriate department, individual, committee member, whatever it might be. So again, burning building, call 911, burning question, call 311. Once your call is logged and the service is rendered, your call is closed. Next slide. And from my point of view, perhaps one of the most important aspects of the call process is that once that's closed, it'll trigger a quick 4-question survey for you that will ask you to evaluate specifically that service that you requested. It's going to ask you, were we accurate? Were we courteous? And was it fairly easy to log your service request with the city of Somerville? We hope, and I'm asking you directly, please continue to take these surveys. These surveys are the fuel that drive our continuous improvement efforts across the city. We measure and manage it and review and report to it with all the city departments on how well we are doing in terms of our accuracy, our courtesy, and our ease of doing business with us. So I know there is such a thing as survey fatigue out there where you get survey after survey, but please, we try to keep the survey very brief, and I just strongly encourage everyone to continue to take them each time you call 311 and place a service request. We are listening, we are getting your feedback, and your feedback is driving continuous improvement efforts here in the city. So thank you very much for that. Next slide. Many ways to contact 311. I think we all know the number, 311. But if for some reason you can't, that's not working, I know sometimes people are linked to the Cambridge 311 center. You can also dial 617-666-3311. You can reach us by email, our 311 app, web, or social media links as well. Thank you all very much.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Ed. A treat as always. And next, I would like to welcome Luisa Oliveira, who is the director of our Public Space and Urban Forestry Department.
Good evening, everyone. I'm not sure if you can see me.
We can see and hear you. All good.
Great. So my name is Luisa Oliveira, as Christine mentioned. I'm the director of our Public Space and Urban Forestry Division. We are landscape architects and arborists who are in charge of parks and trees, among a few other things. We recently completed our open space and recreation plan, and this is a document that guides, is a guideline for us for the next 10 years. It's based on data and community input and has a lot of information in it, which you may want to look at. It's on the Summer Voice website and is open to everyone. It has things like things you may not know, that 49% of our open space is owned by DCR, or that we have in the last 10 years added 16.1 acres of new open space, largely through private development. So I encourage you to have a look at that open space and recreation plan. Next slide, please. We also want to tell you that we have this spring added pollinator plantings at 5 new parks, which is part of our pollinator action plan, and to invite you to participate in the pollinator pledge. And that also on the Summer Voice page is a pledge that you take and check off the critical things that you need to do to support pollinators, and then you can get one of these free signs for your yard. So the hope is that everyone is trying to plant things that are creating habitat. And a reminder for autumn cleanup that doing less is actually better for pollinators. So instead of raking all of your leaves, if you can pile them into the middle of your planting bed, if you don't like them to be seen, take them off walkways where it could be dangerous. And this is because many pollinators overwinter in the leaf piles. And to not cut back your perennial stalks. Leave them all winter. Pollinators lay their eggs in those stalks. And then if you could wait until May to mow the lawn or cut those stalks, it helps to support pollinators. If you haven't checked out the plan, please do so again on the Summer Voice page where project information is kept. Next slide, please. We have this year been working with the Somerville Commission for Persons with Disabilities. They initiated a project to add inclusive swings in some of our parks. So we surveyed all of the parks, and where we could, where there was enough space and the adequate fall zones, we are going to be installing brand new inclusive swings. And this will increase our parks from 23% with inclusive swings to 83%. And we are exceptionally happy about this and happy to have partnered with the commission who also funded this project. We have a new park in Somerville. It's Ken Kelly Park, 217 Somerville Ave. If you haven't made it out there, please go down and have a look. Again, all the plants are feeding pollinators, creating habitat, and it is a passive park where you can gather to have a meal with a friend or just read a book. And we will be also opening Somerville Junction Park later this year in November. So we've been busy trying to build as many parks as possible. Next slide, please, Christine. Finally, a little bit about the urban forestry program. We plant 350 trees a year. You can always help by watering them. Don't worry that you will overwater them. You won't, especially during very hot and drought seasons. One of the things that we've done is 6 years ago, we created two proactive maintenance projects to take care of our trees. So one is to look at the trees in the park and our street trees and to have them evaluated, and then to have reactions to any of their health concerns. For example, biostimulants or pruning or helping them for both the young trees and the park trees to survive a longer time and contribute to the urban forest. This year is the first time that we've completed the full park cycle, so we're very happy about that, and have taken care of over 1,000 trees in our parks. Always remember, if you see an issue with a tree, you can email trees@somervillema.gov, or always you can email our trustee 311. Next slide, please. And with that, I'm going to hand it over to the police. And or no, I'm going to take a couple of questions.
Louisa, we are holding questions until the end.
Oh, okay.
Until we get into the general Q&A.
Great.
But
So
yes, excellent. I can take it from here.
Somerville Police. Thank you.
Excellent.
Hello,
No introduction needed.
I think everybody knows what we do. Police department, a little self-explanatory, but nice to see everybody virtually. My name is Jeff DiGregorio. I'm a captain with the Somerville Police Department. I've been with the city going into my 25th year. I grew up in Ward 5 on Olive Ave. A little trivia, if anyone knows where Olive Ave is, extra point. So we can get into it. So overall, the city, Part 1 crimes, we have seen an increase of 9%. These Part 1 crimes are property crimes as well as some violent crimes, but it's a little misleading because a lot of this is driven through the larceny that you can see highlighted, and a lot of that is shoplifting. So violent crimes overall are on the decrease, but we are seeing with more stores down Assembly, we just see more activity down there. What are we doing about it? We have area cars deployed based on patterns, hotspots, repeat incidents, and feedback from the community. Our crime analysis folks are great, using scientific approaches to this, but more importantly is feedback from the community. So please reach out to us, reach out to your counselors when you have issues. Officers are made aware of these through bulletins, communications, and through roll call trainings. And we do try to increase residents' awareness of this. And we do post, we're trying to be a little more active on social media. So we will post them things out there. So be on the lookout for that. Next slide, please. Reports of domestic violence. Overall this year, we've seen a decrease of decrease by 14 incidents over this last year. And overall domestic violence this year is lower than the 5-year average. We do have some resources to reach out. We do have a civilian non-sworn victim witness advocate, Maureen DiPaolo. Her extension phone numbers there, and Sergeant Snyder runs the unit. His information is there too. So if you have questions or things like that, it's a great resource to have. Sometimes having a civilian a little softer touch makes it easier for people to talk about issues. Next slide, please. So this year we instituted trying to be a little more proactive with the warm weather brings people, groups, just more people out. So we try to identify some problems and work collaboratively with the community. Internally, we identified some resources we had and target locations based on data and community concerns. So we identified three areas to kind of focus on. The west end of the city, Davis Square, very popular, very populated, especially during the summer. Central, the high school area all the way down to Union Square. And then the east part of the city, Healy, Mystic Ave, Temple Street, Lower Broadway, and of course Assembly Row, which is a city unto itself. So just some numbers. I don't want to bore you with numbers, but almost 1,400 business, citizen, and youth contacts. You can see the rise from the previous years. 1,286 directed patrols, higher than the last year. And then 584 park walk and talks. Just to note, the park walk and talk is a extended police interaction. It's 30 to 45 minutes where officers get out of the patrol car and interact with the community and its members. Next slide, please. So building trust and legitimacy. We always try to be proactive with the community and kind of show them some of the things we do besides just enforce laws. So National Night Out, big success this year, and I just want to shout out Officer Ribeiro. Absolutely crushed it again this year. I don't know if anyone made it out there to the Doughboy, but it was full of vendors, kids. We had a great time. Really was a success. We also had the Junior Police Academy in collaboration with Parks and Rec. We had 30 cadets, 5th through 8th grade. Did first aid, kind of showed them some drills and some cool police stuff. We'll say that. Again, another success. We also implemented some online safety class with the Somerville Public Schools. A lot of times schools will reach out to us and try to have us come in and show the kids internet safety, things like that. Again, very successful. So next slide, please. And just kind of look into the future, some of our priorities. First one is the implementation of a pilot co-response with CORE, our community outreach personnel. We do some of this already with, we do some follow-ups with overdoses where a social worker or a worker from CORE is non-sworn will ride with an officer to do some of these follow-ups. So, some of the work's been done, but we're obviously looking to expand it and go forward. Also work with the Public Safety for All manager to implement some of the Public Safety for All recommendations. Also to create a community policing command with the SPD. So we've had traditionally coming through the ranks, we've always had community police officers. Every ward had an officer, and just with staffing issues as things progressed, there just wasn't the personnel for that. The goal is to bring that back. So that's something we're working towards, because I think it's a very important thing. Next slide, please. Okay, this is my favorite page. So we're not immune to the hiring crisis that I think a lot of departments are, but we're always looking to hire good candidates. We've actually tried something new outside of civil service, was the just an open application and hiring process, which was very successful. We got some candidates through that. So if you're looking to join us, it's a great job, great benefits, great salary. You have a group 4 retirement, which means you can retire in your 50s, depending on when you come on, which, a lot of industries and jobs just don't have that anymore. There are obviously requirements. You have to go through an academy, be post-certified, and there's a very vigorous background and investigation that you have to go through. But just speaking from experience, it's a great job. So hopefully, if you're interested, please reach out. Like I said, we're always looking for folks. Next slide, please. So there's just some contact information for us. I will say traditionally, police departments aren't usually ahead on technology, but we've been pretty good with social media, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. We have an app. We've also posting crime stats and citation stats through our portals. There is a time lag just based on going through the information. It's not real-time information, but it is available. So just take a look at all these different contacts we have. And if you have an emergency, obviously call 911. But if you don't, there's just some other options. Next slide, please. All right, that's it. Thank you. Hope everyone has a good night.
Thank you so much. And next up, I would like to welcome Brad Rawson, who is the director of our mobility division.
Thanks, Christine. Good evening, everybody. My name is Brad Rawson. I'm a Somerville resident, and I serve our community as Director of Mobility. Our presentation this evening will focus on traffic safety. Somerville residents are constantly and consistently telling us that they feel unsafe getting around Somerville, whether that's by walking, driving, biking, taking transit. So a big part of our team's work in the mobility division is to address those safety concerns. This first slide features a graph showing the number of crashes that are reported on Somerville streets over the past decade. Crash data are collected by agencies including Somerville Police Department, Massachusetts State Police, and then they're published by the State Department of Transportation. The heavy blue line on this graph illustrates annual total reported crashes by calendar year. You'll notice that between about 2015 and 2019, we were reporting about 800 crashes on Somerville streets per year. But from 2020 to 2024, we were getting about 600 total annual crash reports. Broadly speaking, that's about a 25% decrease. But how are the data looking for 2025? The dashed orange line on your graph is trying to give you a sense of year-to-date totals, how 2025 so far is tracking compared to prior years. We get an apples-to-apples comparison by running through the end of August. It typically takes about 4 or 6 weeks for the state databases to update. So any day now we'll be able to go current through the end of September. And you see a really similar shaped trend line for the 2025 year-to-date compared against prior years. So clearly there's some good news in these graphs. Our staff monitor these data points regularly, and they're used to help inform our planning and our project management. If you're interested in this data source and would like to dive deeper, please note the link on the bottom of this slide. Our office publishes lots of different analyses every year, but we don't have time in this presentation to show them all. So please do check out our Vision Zero website for more information. Next slide, please. So vehicle speed is really the most important factor in both crash frequency and crash severity. The best way to understand vehicle speed or to reduce vehicle speed is to build physical traffic calming. Things like speed humps, raised crosswalks, pedestrian crossing islands are classic techniques that are used all over the world. And in Somerville, our residents have been demanding these types of best practices for years and years and years. But until recently, Somerville did not have a reliable project delivery model to be constructing raised crosswalks or speed humps. We're proud to say that over the past 5 years, we have built that capacity in response to resident demand. So the graph on this slide illustrates the growth in just speed hump construction in Somerville since 2017. If you look at our annual average from 2021 through 2024, you'll see that we've been able to construct approximately 25 speed humps per year on average. Beyond that, we're building dozens of raised crosswalks, raised intersections, curb extensions, and pedestrian islands every year. You can get more information on all of these treatments using our annual data reports. Just follow the link at the bottom of the slide. This progress has required lots of coordination between different city departments. So we definitely like to thank all of our internal partners for all their hard work and all their collaboration to deliver these results. And we'd like to say a real public thank you to Mayor Ballantyne and to the City Council for being our partners on this journey. Your support for our Safe Streets movement has been saving lives and has been absolutely crucial. So this next slide tries to answer a question, which is, are our traffic calming treatments effective? So let's use vehicle speed again, since that is the most important factor in crash frequency and crash severity. Our staff are always interested in documenting speeding behavior before and after our traffic calming projects. We use standard automated traffic recording equipment to do this. Radars and pneumatic tubes across the street are two classic techniques that you could probably see from all of our work in recent years. So this example uses 25 miles per hour as the comparison point, looking at streets before traffic calming and after traffic calming. And it uses residential streets that are well-known cut-through routes. We did not choose big arterial roadways for this particular comparison. So the blue bars on this graph indicate the percentage of vehicles that were speeding before the traffic calming was installed. And the orange bars on this graph indicate the speeding percentage after the traffic calming treatment. So you can see that in these examples, speeding behavior is dropping significantly. It seems obvious, but it's really important for our office to do this work and to communicate to our residents to make sure that we are being effective and telling that story. And folks, please think about the risk factors on our streets every day. Some of these example streets handle more than 5,000 daily vehicles. So when you think about going from 40% speeding behavior to less than 10% speeding behavior, we are talking about hundreds and hundreds of risk factors being mitigated every day. Next slide, please. So there are many different ways to get your street evaluated for traffic calming. These programs are very, very popular. And as a result, several city departments worked together to set up a new traffic calming homepage a year or two ago, and it's linked on your slides. Constituents often ask how they can start the evaluation process and be considered. There are definitely many different ways to get into the pipeline. And I want to note that none of those ways will advantage or disadvantage a street. We want to cast as wide a net as possible. So the easiest way is to call 311 or email 311. Ed and the entire terrific team at 311 is trained on our standard operating procedures, routes those requests to our offices, and they enter our pipeline. You can also email Mobility Division staff, transportation@somervillema.gov. Those are two really easy ways to do it. You can also reach out to city councilors. Our city councilors are great partners in routing those requests, just like our 311 call center. There's also a formal petition process where you can door knock and get signatures from your neighbors. And a long time ago, that was actually the only way for these types of requests to make it to the proper city departments. So we retain that, but it is not the only way anymore. We're really proud of diversifying these pipelines. You can also give us feedback. You're going to always see our staff in the community, folks. We have many, many public outreach events, and you can just bring up an issue, we'll jot it down, and it'll become part of our regular pipeline for evaluation. And we'll be sure to follow up with you. Next slide, please. So speaking of our outreach and engagement work, public engagement is fundamental to the work that the Mobility Division does. This slide offers two quick examples. On the left side of the screen, the first graph with the orange bars illustrates 311 inquiries that reached our team during 2024's calendar year. We received more than 500 inquiries, which is pretty incredible, and nearly 200 of them were specifically about traffic calming issues. The second graph on the right side with the blue bars illustrates Mobility Division's annual outreach events. We have learned as a public policy industry that simply asking residents to come to nighttime meetings may serve some residents and some people well, but not others. And so we as public servants are bringing content to our neighborhoods, to community events. We do flyering and bus stop visits. We door knock with small business owners. We will visit schools at arrival and dismissal to speak with parents and guardians and educators and students. We will do focus group meetings in affordable housing and senior housing buildings. We will do site tours and career pipeline work with youth organizations. We really want to cast a wide net and involve as many people as possible. This year, we're on pace to exceed 110 of these outreach events for our little team of 8 people. Last year, we had 101 events. The year before, 100 events. It's a lot of work. We're really proud because it's doing the work the right way to build durable and diverse coalitions. This coming weekend, you can visit us at a table at our Latin American and Caribbean Heritage event at the Healy School on Saturday, or at the Monster Mash Summer Streets event on Somerville Avenue on Sunday. Next slide, please. We'll finish up our presentation with a few more ways to get more information. On the left side of the screen is an image of the city's interactive traffic calming map. This online map helps residents understand our progress in recent years, as well as our project pipeline for the next couple of years. You can find it by visiting our Vision Zero homepage or our traffic calming homepage. On the right side of the screen is an image of our team's monthly newsletter. If you're not already receiving it, we do recommend signing up. This is one of the best ways to learn and stay in touch about outreach events, surveys, and project updates. Just search Somerville Mobility Newsletter, and you'll find a sign up as well as archives going back several years. Next slide, please. Lastly, we'd like to call attention to several special projects that our team is managing or supporting. This slide includes images of outreach posters for larger scale projects in our pipeline. If you visit the Mobility Division homepage, you'll find links to each of them and many more. And those links will give you multiple options to get involved, to share comments, or to ask questions. I hope this has been a helpful summary of Somerville's traffic calming efforts. And I do want to remind us, human lives are at stake, folks. We lost 6 Somerville residents in preventable traffic crashes between 2019 and 2022, and our community has said no more. We are taking very, very seriously the safety imperative that our residents and our elected officials have given us year after year after year. So we hope that you'll join us in this movement. Thanks very much.
Thank you so much, Brad. We have now reached, it's 7:38. We are going to take a brief 3-minute pause for everyone to gather up their questions and grab some water. So we will come back at 7:41 on the dot. I would ask that any of the city staff here on the call tonight, please turn their cameras on and prepare to answer any questions that may be directed towards them. So I will see you all in a minute at 7:41. All right, folks, it is 7:41. If you are a city staffer, again, I ask that you please put your camera on, and prepare yourself to answer any questions. And we are now entering the Q&A portion of the evening. So if you have questions for any of the city staff, please use the raise hand function and we will call on you and unmute you when it's time. All right, we have a few hands raised. We can start with David.
Can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay, I have a few questions which I'm going to double to your email. And I think most of them go to Brad Rawson. What's the status of the McGrath Boulevard project that's running through Assembly Square and through Somerville? And it's supposed to take it down off the trestle and put it into a boulevard on ground level. Some of the funding is federal, and the climate is kind of negative about federal funding. So I was wondering how that was working. Should I go on to my other ones, or do you want to take that one on first? Okay.
Christine, what's your preference? Do you want to go question by question, or?
I was going to defer to you because I
David's
was assuming
questions
that
in
you're the
chat.
one that was going to answer.
Why don't I answer the first question if it's okay? Hi, David. Thanks for being here and thanks for the question. So many Somerville residents have been working for 10 or 20 years on a long-range plan to ultimately rebuild McGrath Highway as a more human-scaled, safe, green, urban boulevard. And so Mass DOT, who owns and manages Route 28 McGrath O'Brien Highway, has been working to respond to our community feedback over the last generation. And they have been moving forward with a project that they call McGrath Boulevard. That project is currently in its design and engineering phase, and it has a couple of years to go with design and engineering before a construction contract can be issued. The state's current construction start estimate, David, is calendar year 2028. You asked specifically about funding, and Mass DOT has been doing a good job of communicating with municipalities that the federal government continues to pay invoices to Mass DOT and continues to kind of keep cash moving. The McGrath Boulevard project is anticipated to have a mixture of federal and state funding. And right now, Mass DOT is optimistic that it has enough money and that money is protected and durable. However, nobody is taking any of those questions for granted these days. The last thing I will say is that lots and lots of federal grants have been suspended, delayed, or terminated this calendar year. McGrath has not yet been hit with any of those impacts, but city staff, mayor, city council, and Somerville's terrific state and federal delegations are working to monitor those situations and protect the investments that we need to improve safety and quality of life in our community. I hope that's been a helpful answer.
Yes, it has been. Can I go on with other questions, or do you want to put someone else in? I have 3 more questions, 2 of which I think go to you, Brad, and then the third one goes to the parks person. What's your preference?
Why
Please,
don't
David.
we go ahead? Go ahead.
Okay. All right, I'll go forward quickly. Can we have a traffic light at Hancock Street and Elm Street at the Porter Square Shopping Center? This is a kind of a dangerous place because people are turning left and right from Hancock Street and turning left and right from the exits from Porter Square Shopping Center. Plus there are pedestrian walkways on both ends of the shopping center. I've seen elderly people trying to get across with cars waiting and this sort of thing, and it's dangerous. Back in the 90s, I was at a meeting where I raised that issue, and we had as a result, the shopping center redevelopment people put in chicanes on the Cambridge side to slow down the traffic, but Cambridge planning forced the owner to rip them out again because they hadn't gone through the proper permitting process. I also learned that Cambridge and Somerville could not agree on who would pay for this traffic light. After all these years, can Somerville and Cambridge just agree to split the cost? This can be a dangerous intersection at rush hour. Thanks.
David, thanks for your question. I'll try to keep my answer a tiny bit quicker than the last one. You can email that type of safety concern or feedback to transportation@somervillema.gov. And our team in mobility and some of our sister departments, like our engineering division, will review those types of requests and will respond. I will note that citing new traffic signals tends to be a long and challenging process. And one of the things that we often say is there can be other techniques that we use to improve safety at intersections that can be a little bit quicker and easier than the long and expensive process of permitting and building traffic signals. So I've taken note of your comment, Somerville, Elm Street at Hancock, and our teams will review it. And I would point you to an active safety project the city's been working on called the Elm Beacon Connector Project. We're about a year into our community engagement process, and that project will include some safety measures, although does not include a construction budget like you're asking for. But I want to honor and validate what you're saying. Our teams observe the same turbulence on Elm Street as you are describing, and we are working to improve safety for all road users there. Thanks very much.
Awesome. Next, I see that Barika Edwards, you have your hand up.
Yes, I live in Winter Hill, and I like to talk about Umbro Bros construction. Right now, they're doing massive construction on Broadway, and there's two issues. And this also happened last year as well. One, this is a residential area, and I know that the people that own this company don't even live in Somerville, so they're not treating this as a residential neighborhood. And they take up so many parking spots, and we already have limited parking as it is. And anybody who goes to any job, they have to walk to their office, and they don't get to park right at their desk. So the fact that they take up all of the residential parking in the area, and then right now there's so much noise, and they turn off your trucks. It's causing so much harm to our climate, and it's just noise pollution where they don't need to have trucks on all the time. And I think that we really need to be more conscientious of residential neighborhoods, the parking. There are people here with mobility issues that cannot park near their homes because they have to park miles and miles away so that other people can park right next to their desk to do construction in Winter Hill. And that's my comment.
Christine, I think I should answer this. Hi, Barika. I'm Brian Polstwaite, Director of Engineering. It is our division that manages the construction for these projects, in particular, this project that's being conducted by Umbro, which is our Central Broadway water main restoration project. This project's been going on for about 2 to 3 years, and we are in the last stretches of it. I believe we have 2 weeks left of this project. And yes, we've been working with Umbro for a number of years now, and they are familiar with working in residential areas. Most projects in Eastern Massachusetts, including Somerville, are, especially utility projects, are in residential areas. Most work that contractors do is in residential areas because that is the streets that the majority of our utilities lie. We also recognize that that is very uncomfortable, and it's challenging to both to be living in a home and also having construction going on, sometimes literally right at your front doorstep. That is a challenge that we all have in constructing and maintaining the critical infrastructure that allows our city to survive and thrive and function. So I understand your discomfort, and we minimize the amount of impact to the degree that we can. But one of the most effective ways that we have of doing that is by trying to consolidate and compress the amount of construction time there is. This was a rather large construction project, and to minimize the amount of time that it took to execute it, we had to increase the number of hours a day that people are working so that it can be done efficiently. I hear you on the parking issue. All contractors are required to go through our parking department to get contractor parking for their employees. That includes both projects that the city does, but it also includes projects that private developers and private utility contractors do throughout the city. But due to the nature of most of our utilities are located underneath the roadway, often underneath parking lanes, the necessity of occupying the limited parking that we have in the city is a requirement to do the work. And unfortunately, that is just one of the historical artifacts of the way our city was constructed and the way our utilities have to be maintained.
I understand that, but there's parking lots 4 blocks that way that they could be parking in. It's not just the equipment, it's their own personal vehicles that they're using at parking spots. And they could be parking at the parking lot. They could be parking at the school that has a big, huge parking lot, and they're not doing that. And this construction that's happening right now is going to go through all the night. And I think just having a little bit more thought about taking the blocks so that not everybody is going to have their whole entire night disturbed for the next 2 weeks.
Yes, I hear you.
Okay, David, I see that you have your hand up. I'm gonna call on one other person that's had their hand up, and then afterwards I can come back to you. So, Clara, I'm not really sure how to pronounce it. I apologize.
Thank you for the opportunity to ask a few questions. My first question is for Brad and/or the police department. As someone who lives here for many years, I notice principally in my area, which is Spring Hill, but I notice that throughout the city, bicyclists continue to go through red lights. And most notably, I noticed on Mossland Street a couple of times this week, bicyclists going right through. And if a car's in the other direction who does not live in Somerville, apparently there's some rule around, maybe it's urban folklore here, that bicyclists can go through red lights. So how would someone who does not live in Somerville, who's driving in the other direction, know that? But don't answer yet. I have a couple other questions related to this. Secondly, I remember years ago growing up here where bikes used to be registered for $5. And maybe that might be a good way of holding bicyclists more accountable than what they are, because it seems that many of them don't follow the rules of the road. And who's enforcing this, if anybody? And the other thing is not related to the bicyclists, but related to Conway Park, where the sidewalks are jutting out into the middle of the street. And one of my neighbors mentioned that she heard that the snow plows don't fit between all these areas where the sidewalks are jutting out. Now, I don't know if that's true or not, but could you please clarify? Thank you.
Christine, perhaps I can take first answer and then ask Jeff from SPD or Brian from engineering to chime in as needed. Hi, Clara. Thanks for your time tonight. Thanks for your questions. So on your first question, SPD and I can both chime in. I think it's important, though, to state that in terms of Somerville rules, we've got same rights, same responsibilities. People biking are expected to follow traffic laws. And in fact, SPD does perform education and enforcement activities. Jeff, if I remember correctly, your team actually administered about 300 bicycle citations in calendar year 2024. These can be challenging issues, and I want to acknowledge the complexity of them. But we're just trying to make sure everybody's safe on our streets, and bike riders are allowed under mass law to use any marked lane, but they are expected to, yield to pedestrians and crosswalks just like motorists, to stop at red lights just like motorists. Our team works in partnership with SPD and many others, including Somerville Public Schools, on education materials to try to make sure that folks who might be new to biking know the rules of the road, and can actually behave in a safe and responsible way to keep themselves and others safe. Christine, if it's okay, why don't I pause and see if Jeff has anything to add?
No, Brad, that was perfect. If you're on a bicycle, you have to stop for red lights. You have to yield to pedestrians. We do get complaints about motorists as well as bicyclists, and we do, you have to obey the same laws. So if we do see a violation, we will take action.
What is the violation for a bicyclist going through a red light, which they do all the time?
I haven't written a ticket in a little bit, but I believe it's a $20 citation. Because they're not motor vehicles, so they don't have the same.
Okay, and I have not gotten one for going through any red light, but what is it for a motorist?
I'm not sure what the current fine is, but it is more than $20. But because they're not registered vehicles, they don't have license plates, they don't have insurance. It's a little different as far as treating them. It's the same way, but we operate under the law. So what the law allows is that $20 citation.
I'm not saying to license them, but why aren't they at least allowed to be registered in the city, so that they can be held accountable if somebody sees somebody doing that? Another motorist or pedestrian, anybody.
Yeah, I can't really answer that. It would be under the Mass General laws of motor vehicles, bicyclists. I don't know if there would be a city initiative to register bikes. But until that happens, our enforcement is limited to what we can do right now.
Okay, thank you. And what about the question about the sidewalks being expanded? And one of my neighbors said she heard that the snow plows don't fit between all those new accommodations that are being made.
I will take that one. Thanks, Clara. Which sidewalks are you referring to? You said they were in
Fenway Park, but it's all over the city. These things are
Oh, I'm sorry.
everywhere.
You mean in the street, not in the
In the
actual
street,
park.
in the
Yeah.
street, no, in the street, jutting out, and wait till winter when the snowbanks come and the street will be even more on a street diet than what it already is.
Yeah, Louisa and Brad, I can answer this. Yeah, Clara. Again, Brian Postwaite, engineering. My team and I work very, very closely with Department of Public Works, in particular the Superintendent of Highways, to review all of our projects with them, to make sure that their plowing equipment, their operators, their contractors can all maintain the infrastructure that we're installing. And most of the infrastructure that we've been installing recently actually have precedents elsewhere in the city that we've been able to fine tune and correct where necessary. So the vast majority, if not all of the infrastructure that we've been installing recently is similar to infrastructure that they've already currently maintained elsewhere successfully.
Okay.
So
Can I ask
this
a
is
quick
something that we work with
question?
on a
Why
pretty
are we
regular
even
basis.
doing this? Why is this happening? You're making a major street so small. For what apparent good does it do? Turning it like Beacon Street or Central Street or any of these other streets that are hard enough to pass by? We're not Florida. Our streets are going to get more narrow in the winter.
Yes, those concerns are incorporated into the design and operations and maintenance of our streets.
Who votes on this? Who do you talk to about this?
Brian,
Obviously, it's not the motorists.
May I jump in, please? Brian, thank you for that explanation. And Clara, thanks again for following up. The presentation that I offered earlier this evening focused on a lot of the outreach and engagement techniques that various city departments use to try to build consensus around safety treatments. Narrower crosswalks are statistically safer and more comfortable for people walking, people using wheeled mobility assistance devices like strollers, wheelchairs, walkers, motorized scooters. And in the case that you're describing near Conway Park, Clara, this is a high crash cluster where there's an immense amount of motor vehicle traffic trying to get from Park Street to Central Street, as we all know. And there's also an immense amount of pedestrian and bicycle traffic trying to access Conway Park, all the great restaurants on the Somerville Avenue corridor. And our teams constantly hear from our residents that they feel unsafe at this particular location. So city staff worked on design and engineering options to shorten the crossing distances across Somerville Avenue. And so the construction that you see will actually include a raised crosswalk. It will include a much more generous bus stop that helps the 87 bus run on time and actually will help us get ready for much better bus service that the MBTA has committed to connect Union Square up to Davis Square and beyond. So these types of projects get socialized through city communications, published for public comment, and they are definitely responsive to our constituents' concerns about safety. So there's lots of different ways to get more involved. We mentioned a few in our presentation, and please do feel free to email us at transportation@somervillema.gov, and we'll be happy to give you more detail than we can do in this meeting this evening. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Brad and Brian, for everyone that joined in. I really appreciate it. But I see we have a hand raised from Francia. Did she just disappear? Yeah, I guess so. Okay. So, David, I think we can answer. I think now is a good time for you to ask the other couple questions you have.
Okay. This, maybe you can answer this, maybe you can't. It's about the Draw 7 Park renovation project. I was down there looking at it a few days ago, and they're working away at it, and it looks like they might be done soon. Well, first of all, what's the status? And second, is the state and city funding secure through the end of the project? And then, well, first that, and then I'll add on the question. There's a little piece of overgrown land next to the Winter Hill Yacht Club that's not part of Draw 7 Park. Right now, it's surrounded by a chain link fence. And when I talked to a fellow at the project, he said that either DCR owned it or MBTA had control of it. And so my question is, would it be possible to repurpose it? For instance, Mystic River Watershed Association doesn't seem to have a water quality lab space down there near the tidal zone, and it might be, would it be possible to have a project to repurpose it for something like that? Okay, then those are both in that area. Okay, whatever you can say about it, I'll be grateful to hear. Thanks.
Sure. Hi, David. Louisa again. That park is, as you know, owned by DCR. We are thrilled that they are constructing it. And as far as I know, it will be open next year. So we're excited about that. As for this parcel of land, I can't know unless you show me on a map what it is that you're talking about. If it is in fact owned by MBTA or DCR, then repurposing it would be their decision to make. So I couldn't help with that. If it's owned by the city, then we could talk about what could or could not happen, but I can't know without. I put the email in the chat. If you give me if you send me an email with some way of zeroing in on which parcel you're referring to, I'm happy to look into it. But again, if it belongs to the MBTA or DCR, the city really cannot control any repurposing or use of it. Thanks for the questions.
Awesome. Thank you so much. The only person with their hand up right now is Clara. Is that still, is that left over or
Come back.
you're welcome to speak.
Other people have had a chance to come back after they've asked questions. In terms of economic development, look at North Cambridge. All you have to do is count how many storefronts on each side are empty since the bike lanes have gone in. And you could also contact your counterparts and find out, what is the impact? This is what's happening in Somerville. Businesses are going to be leaving, and some of them already are, between high rents and the fact that people cannot stop to shop there. And that's the thing that no one's talking about. I'm not against bike lanes, but do it sensibly. I know a store, someone in Union Square who had to leave because he had one parking spot outside his business for 5 minutes. And, I don't hear any of this being raised. It seems like everything is for the people who pedal through here, whether they live here in Somerville or not. And what about the 60, what about the rest of us who, 40% of the city are people who basically are homeowners and the rest are renters. And when you get that lopsided mix, you get what's geared for people. And these are your statistics, City of Somerville, because I attended your meetings last year that the mayor had. People stay 3 to 5 years. And it seems like we're catering to the people who are here 3 to 5 years. And all these people pedaling through are not all Somerville residents. Trust me, they're coming in from Medford, Cambridge, Arlington, and elsewhere. So, and in terms of all this polling and engagement and whatever, I found out about the bike lanes about 2 weeks before things were announced. And I have one coming right by my house. So, it has to be done thoughtfully. We are not little Denmark. We are an old city, one of the oldest in the country. And it has to be done responsibly. And I don't really see that happening.
Christine, we're happy to respond. Again, Clara, you're raising important points that our staff and our community members struggle with all the time. So I just want to start by answering your question from a place of humility. We don't have all the answers, but I do want to clearly say to you that saving lives on Somerville streets is the official adopted priority of the city of Somerville. Through mayor after mayor, city council after city council, year after year, our residents and our policymakers have told us that we want wider sidewalks, slower driving, and separated spaces for people to bike safely. So for example, you talked about Conway Park earlier. We know that Somerville Little League has lots and lots of kiddos who would perhaps love to be able to bike safely and independently to ball games at Conway. They can't really do so today on Somerville Avenue or on Elm Street. And so those are the types of use cases that we're interested in supporting. But these are not staff ideas. They are community ideas, and they are ideas that are voted into law by our elected officials. So let's talk about economic impacts for a moment. Cities like Somerville and Cambridge all over North America are working to assemble data to engage with small business owners and large business owners, with residents, shoppers, customers, and suppliers, just like you're describing. None of them have figured out a perfect recipe. In a place like Somerville, our streets are old and narrow, as you acknowledged. Often they're only 40 feet wide, and we can't really fit everything that we want into 40-foot spaces. At times, that means that one side of the street parking might be repurposed or changed to have wider sidewalks or separated spaces for people biking, or better bus accommodations. But all three of those uses for our public right-of-way are the priority based on official city priorities like our Vision Zero Action Plan, our Safe Streets Ordinance, our citywide parking and curb use study. But we don't say this stuff from an ivory tower perspective, Clara. We spend time getting to know business owners in all of our small business districts. And at times we have really uncomfortable conversations, and it's okay for folks to advocate and suggest that we have gotten the balance wrong. We're humble enough to accept that feedback and work to provide more metered parking, more dedicated loading zones, to make sure that merchants are aware of employee parking permit passes that are administered through our great parking department, and working through all of these issues together. The outdoor dining revolution of COVID-19 proved to us that streets for people can be every bit as lucrative and economically valuable as using that same curb space to store a private motor vehicle. But these are conversations we're committed to having. Every project And we are doing that hard work day after day, month after month, year after year. So I hope that you take this feedback in the spirit that it's given, which is that we're all in this together and we're here to do the work the right way and engage a broad coalition of Somerville residents on safe streets that still work for all of our diverse 82,000 residents. Thanks, Christine.
Thank you so much. We see that Adam has their hand up.
Hi. Great. Yeah, thanks for all the talks and stuff. I mostly walk and bike around Somerville, and I think I often see like a lot of cars running, like taking rights on red, when there's explicitly like no rights on red sign, like even when pedestrians are crossing. And I was wondering if the city of Somerville had plans for anything like red light cameras to help curb this, like when the Somerville police is not able to actively be out there at every intersection all the time. Thanks.
Christine, I'm sorry to hog the microphone. I guess I'll invite Jeff to chime in from the enforcement standpoint. But Adam, thanks for your question. This is Brad from Mobility Division. The city of Somerville has something like 95 or 98% of our signalized intersections have signs that say right on red prohibited. There are only a couple of locations around Somerville where those signs are not present. Those signs are important to try to incentivize motorists to obey the law. And they're also an important tool for law enforcement to actually perform citations when needed. So I'll let Jeff chime in on that question. But in terms of your question about red light cameras, you may know this, Adam, but automated enforcement is currently not permitted under Mass General Law. State legislature denies this ability to municipal governments like Somerville. But as the mayor said with some of her advocacy on Beacon Hill about affordable housing, year after year, Somerville staff, elected officials, advocates, and residents have petitioned Beacon Hill to give us the ability to begin using automated enforcement for red light cameras and for speed cameras. There are a couple of bills advancing through the legislature right now in its current session. Senator Pat Jalen, Representative Christine Barber, Rep. Mike Connolly, Erica Eiderhoven have all been champions of this issue for Somerville. And I had a conversation recently with a statewide Safe Streets advocate, and they said they're feeling cautiously optimistic that next summer, when the legislature ends its session, we may actually have the first big vote that would allow automated enforcement in Massachusetts. Governor Healy has given a version of her stamp of approval. And so I'm actually feeling more optimistic than I have with many previous episodes of this. So change is coming, but it really does depend on Somerville residents all continuing to advocate for these evidence-based tools. They've worked all over the world. They can be used for ill, as we know, with surveillance as a concern, but Somerville has a very good surveillance ordinance. We believe that there's a way to protect civil liberties and privacy and still get the evidence-based benefits of reducing red light running. I hope that's been a helpful answer. And Jeff, please feel free to chime in if there's anything from the enforcement standpoint.
No, I think you nailed it. I think Adam made the point. We can't be everywhere. When we do see things, we take action. But if there is a particular intersection or a problem spot that you notice, just let us know. We can kind of send some resources there. We have a dedicated traffic unit, and they operate a lot of times on counselors or constituent complaints of certain areas, and we focus patrols down there. So if there's something that stands out, we'll take a look at it, definitely.
Awesome. Thank you both so much. I am not seeing any more hands. Oh, Crystal. Okay. Felt like I was missing one. Crystal, I'll call on you first, and then A. Matthews, we'll call on you second. So Crystal, go ahead.
Hi, I'm not sure if my audio is now working. Oh, it looks
All
like
good.
okay. I guess I've been trying to email the Somerville police to get more specifics about the crime statistics, but it sounds like the preference is to take that to email, so I will take that to email. My other question is there a is there an upcoming way in a meeting, or is there a preferred way to communicate to the city to ask for more neighbor ways and outdoor dining options, but also like at the same time to ask that the outdoor dining in particular be constructed according to ADA accessibility, because some of it hasn't been in the past, and it's been difficult to go to outdoor dining with friends who use wheelchairs because it wasn't constructed properly. Like, how are there opportunities to give this feedback other than this meeting, and like where or when?
Hi, Crystal. Um, Again, Brian Postwaite from engineering. Um, as you, but others may not know, engineering has been working very closely with the licensing commission, but also economic development and OSPCD in general on the outdoor seating program for the past, I guess we're on 5 or 6 years now. And and we do make every effort to, when we're reviewing outdoor seating proposals, to make sure that they are meeting the letter of the ADA requirements. And we work with ISD to inspect every setup at the beginning of the year. And we have denied such outdoor seatings and had them corrected when they don't meet those requirements. In addition, we have additional requirements that go above and beyond ADA that are specific to the city of Somerville, especially with respect to the quantity of seating. So I'm a little discouraged that you're finding locations that aren't meeting ADA requirements. Short of discussing specifics here, I would really strongly encourage you to send to 311 any locations that you're having problems with. I know Ed Hardy is here, and he would be happy to make sure that those get over to engineering and ISD.
Yes, thank you, Brian. That's a good point. I did want to say that, Crystal, you can call 311 anytime. It's that third bucket that I mentioned in my presentation, where we'll make note of any topic you'd like to bring up. These feedback records are recorded. They are dispatched to the appropriate departments like engineering or mobility. And as we evolve our constituent experience program here in the city, that feedback will also be given to the counselors in some way, shape, or form, so that the city councilor for the affected area that you're calling about is also notified of it.
Awesome. Thank you so much. A. Matthews.
Hi, can you hear me now?
Yep.
Can you hear me? Oh, good.
Yes.
My name is Ann Matthews. Thank you all very much for this meeting tonight. First of all, I would have loved to hear our rat update, because I'm seeing rats in my Spring Hill neighborhood. I report every rat I see to 311, so I guess I'm officially the crazy rat lady. But I would have liked to hear what's going on with the rats and if there's being still work done to try to mitigate this ongoing problem. And my second question is about getting back to the bicycle and traffic enforcement issue. There's also a number I'm seeing now of small motorized vehicles like scooters, actual stand-up scooters, and very small, tiny mini bikes or something like that, or motorized bicycles. I wonder, like, is it possible to enforce their behavior? I don't know if those vehicles are registered or anything like that, but I've noticed a ton of behaviors like weaving in and out, certainly running red lights, clipping off, turning left on red, all those things. And I would just like to, bring that up as also another safety hazard that seems to be increasing. Thank you.
Colin, are you here? I see your name.
Yes, I am here. Thank you for the question. I really appreciate this question about rats. It's something that impacts everyone, myself on a daily basis, but all of you have those lived experiences, and we're here to assist in any way we can. I just wanted to provide a quick summary overall. The city's approach is in three buckets, the first being, and the most important being, education. We do a lot of education work with our neighbors. We have a fantastic website. We have a shareable resource. We're happy to take calls with people, do walk and talks, discuss with neighbors. That's really the first bucket, and I could spend all night talking about our education platform. We also do enforcement work. Please report everything through 311, continue to do so. For violations, we'll send out inspectors for conducive conditions like overgrowth, the presence of burrows, trash overflows, those types of things. And a lot of violations, especially ones more long-term or continuous, we do excellent work with our environmental health coordinator, Alicia Prevet, and our two inspectors to do outreach to those owners to make corrective actions. And some success stories, some not so much, but we're always there to help folks and try to get them on the right path in that vein. And then we work a lot on abatement. Somerville is on the cutting edge of a lot of new rodent control measures. I see Clara put in the comments about the birth control program that we're piloting in partnership with Cambridge at the Somerville High School in Lincoln Park. That's showing some promising results with high consumption rates, and we'll be ready to report out that within the next year or so as more data comes in and we continue to test its efficacy. We have the Smart Box program, which are our rat zappers that we distribute throughout the city. While they're great traps and they do an excellent job avoiding poison and providing a painless trapping experience for our rodent friends, they provide us with vital information for tracking populations over time, especially in our high traffic areas throughout the city. And we respond accordingly by tracking those numbers and reporting to potential violators on how they can improve their best practices in those locations. We also have the free residential rodent control program. Please call 311, sign up. Any building with 3 units or less is eligible. You get now 2 months of rodent control, as well as consultation with a licensed technician and some bait boxes, which are not using SCARs anymore. We've moved to a vitamin D concentrate. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. I could talk about rats all night, but I'm not going to. I'm happy to talk offline, meet in person, any way we can get information out. Happy to do so. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Colin. Go ahead.
Christine, may I answer the second part of Anne's question as best I can? And thanks so much for your question about new vehicle types that are proliferating in Somerville and elsewhere. These include, but are not limited to, traditional e-bikes, if that's even a thing. The really hot-rodded versions with much more powerful engines. We see the price points for gas-powered mopeds and e-scooters dropping very, very quickly. And as a result, people are using them. I think cities like Somerville are working to do a better job of clarifying the rules of the road for those new types of mobility. And we are currently managing a community path safety improvements project. We've got about 800 survey responses from Somerville residents talking about how we can do better on sharing the limited space of our community path extension. And I'm sure you'll be shocked to hear this, Anne, but this exact question has been a major focus of public comment. People want to know what Somerville, Cambridge, and others can do to keep everybody safe in this new world. So we have an active project team working on these issues. That will include coordinating with the city's law office, our police department, our communications department. I think some people are, innocently misunderstanding rules of the road. And then obviously there's plenty of bad actors in terms of, like you said, going the wrong way or cutting through signals or menacing pedestrians during a walk phase. This is a thing that cities all over North America are struggling with right now. And Somerville's trying to learn from our peers, whether it's Vancouver, British Columbia, Austin, Texas, Washington, D.C. We are part of a network of cities that are managing these same tensions and the questions of in education, enforcement, or engineering can be deployed, I think, to try to get the benefits of new non-car mobility without the drawbacks of that Wild West dynamic you are describing. please know that most of us on our staff are Somerville residents. We're experiencing this just like you are, and we're feeling that pressure deeply. So we do have a team of people working on it, even if we don't have great answers for you tonight. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Colin, and thank you so much, Brad. Brad, I feel like mobility is always a very hot topic at these, so I appreciate it. It's 8:26. We are coming up on 8:30. We have a hard out at 8:30. We have time for one more question. Should anybody have one? All right, David, you have the honor of the last question of the evening.
Thank you. Can you hear me okay? Hello?
Yes.
We can hear you.
Oh, okay, great. The quick question is on the intersection of Somerville Avenue and Beacon Street, over the railroad tracks, there's a building that got constructed, an interesting looking steel building that went up and got enclosed and then has stopped for, I think, more than a year, and it just sits there. And I'm wondering if anybody can say what's the story with that and what's the holdup or what's going on. I heard it was going to be a hotel and it could provide employment and maybe another restaurant. Just curious, any information? Thank you.
Tom, you have your hand up.
Yeah, thanks for the question, David. That is a hotel proposal that found maybe about 7 years ago, prior to the pandemic, and they've been very deliberate in their approach to constructing the building. It's another word for it. It's been super slow. They look like they're on the verge of opening. We thought as late as recently as 6 months ago that they were ready to open. In fact, their website for the hotel actually allowed you to search for dates that of availability for rooms, but nothing has happened, and we're not sure why. There could be lots of different reasons, but it's certainly in that stuck position. I wish I had a better answer for you.
Thank you.
We're eagerly awaiting that to open and to be able to collect the rooms and rooms taxes and to collect the property taxes to the fullest. And it's not happening for us, and we're equally frustrated.
Yeah, it doesn't look like any interior work had gotten done. It's very interesting. Hope it gets open.
All right, folks, we have one final question from Barbara. It's 8:28. Go for it.
Hi, on the question of that hotel, do we have any recourse for these construction projects that just stall out and no one knows what's going on? Are there any legal routes we can take? And also just about the bike path, I was told that once there was a car on the bike path. So in addition to bike riders going too fast when there's lots of people, and motorized vehicles, it's crazy, but I'm in a car. So I think something has to get tightened up. But I am curious about this hotel and what recourse the city has for, these are very important projects, and do we have any recourse?
Thanks, you, Barbara. In terms of recourse, what we're really interested in making sure, at the very minimum, that buildings and vacant buildings in particular are not violating any codes, because a vacant building is not a good situation in any neighborhood. And so our inspection services department is keeping tabs on that building and several of our other vacant buildings to make sure they're not falling into disrepair. If they are, then we can cite them and we can find them, and we do on a regular basis when that situation occurs. In terms of forcing their hand, to force them to invest money to finish their project, that's not really that possible. In some very rare circumstances, we have taken action. For example, in Winter Hill at the old Star Market, at a point about 4 years ago, we decided to create an urban renewal plan with the purpose of facilitating and stimulating redevelopment of that site. We had a landowner who was not interested in fulfilling the community's vision, And we created an urban renewal plan as a means of, a bit of a stick to encourage action. And it's no coincidence that the day after we passed that urban renewal plan, we didn't have to take the property, but a developer came in and said, hey, the property owner finally is interested in dealing with me and negotiating with me. And I want to buy the property and I want to fulfill the city's vision. But that's a very drastic step we took in that case. And it took many, many years of community conversations and planning work and ultimately developing that urban renewal plan and getting approval from the city and from the state to do so. So there's no easy solution, but we do have our eye on that property for sure to make sure that something happens. Thanks, Barbara. That's the first part of your question. Now I forget the second part of your question, but I don't think I'm able to answer the second part. Could you repeat that? About bike paths. I think it's related to cars on the bike path. Maybe there's somebody else who can answer that. Or
This is
maybe
Brad.
you could-
This is Brad. I got the second part of Barbara's question. Thank you, Barbara. Your question was about motor vehicles, actual cars occasionally encroaching on the path. Yes, we do receive those reports. If you see one, please do call or email 311. It's an important part of the data record. Many folks probably can see in their mind's eye yellow bollards that exist. They're removable bollards at the street crossings. And those allow our first responders to actually get gator vehicles or other maintenance vehicles down the path. They're key and wrench operated. They are intended to keep motorists out. The most common locations that we've experienced cars driving on the community path are some of the older sections, the non-green line sections, like Willow and like Cedar. So again, that is part of our review for our safety improvements project. So thank you, Barbara, for relaying that.
Thank you, Tom. Thank you, Brad. Very much appreciated. Folks, we are past 8:30. I just want to say a quick thank you to all of the staff that came and presented tonight. A huge thank you to our interpreters for keeping things accessible. If you have questions that we were not able to get answered tonight, please email cm@somervillema.gov and we can get your comment directed to the appropriate department. So that's all, folks. Thank you so much for joining. And don't forget, we have the Ward 2 meeting on Thursday.